Hi, and happy weekend. All right. So I'm still writing a lot because I'm preparing this online course, about how to operate your instruments, your body and your mind, and how to live a sustainable, joyful life, not a life that is sometimes nice and sometimes ugly, and sometimes you struggle and sometimes you're not struggling. I want you to understand that there is a way in this lifetime. That you are free from the circumstances that surround you, right? It is possible to live in balance and joyful, and with this peace that does not depend on any external circumstances. And this does not depend on the atmosphere in your mind. So then why are we doing all that stuff to create a pleasant atmosphere in your mind? All right. So what we are doing when we use affirmations, when we do yoga practice, whatever, all these tools we use them to treat our instruments right, our body and our mind, to operate them, to tell our mind what to do, to create a pleasant atmosphere in our mind. When we have a pleasant atmosphere in our mind, our mind becomes calmer, there's less thoughts, less movement going on. And when it's like this, it's easy for us that during our meditation practice, meditation actually happens. When the mind is really calm and peaceful and balanced, then it's probably easier for us to transcend the mind, to see what is beyond. Remember the example with the lake, when the lake is really, how do you say that? Quiet, flat, no waves, then it's easier to see to the ground, right? And that's what's happening with your mind. Our spiritual goal is to transcend the mind, to look what is beyond this form, this world of form and thought, and experience our true self, right? So this is why we create a certain atmosphere in body and mind with our practices to ultimately transcend it, go beyond. So, all right. Now, and that's the ultimate goal, right, of any spiritual journey. And that is the way to ultimate freedom, right? As long as you are identified with your instruments, with your body, and with your mind, Abby, your happiness, your contentment, your feeling of your love for life, your joy always depends on something or someone, because that's nature, right? See, your mind and your body are part of nature, the dimension of nature where everything is subject to change, subject to time, subject to beginnings and endings, right? So nature has this, the law of nature is that nature wants to be perfect, right? But because the conditions in nature are always changing, this perfection is never reached. So this is what's happening with your mind as well. So if the conditions are all right and the conditions around you agree with your mind's beliefs, you feel joyful. If the conditions around you change, if somebody treats you in a way your mind doesn't agree with, if the weather is not as your mind likes it, then you don't feel joy. So you're never free. Do you understand what I mean? It's like you're always, how you experience life always depends on something, and that's not freedom. And I want for you to experience total freedom, right? So it is great, to use affirmations and to do your practice and to control your mind. And it works to a certain point. But this mind level happiness is not sustainable, right? So let's dive a little bit deeper. You imagine we go one layer deeper. We're already happy. If our mind is calm, we're already happy. If we have created a pleasant atmosphere in our mind, that's great. But I just want to let you know that it's even more is possible. All right. So let's get a little bit philosophical. All right, so human species. We are the only species that has a relationship with themselves, right? We all live in this schizophrenic relationship between me and myself, or you and yourself, right? You know, if somebody, externalizes these relationships, people call them crazy and they put them in a psychiatric institute, right? But in reality, we all do this, right? We are all kind of like schizophrenic, because we say, I love myself, I'm not enough, or we blame ourselves, we talk to ourselves and we say, you are not deserving a happy relationship because you know what you did in your past and you remember what your parents told you. You will never be able to be successful, blah, 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 right? So what is this relationship? So see, it is a mind-made image of yourself. And you are communicating with thoughts, mind-made thoughts, with this mind-made, thought-made image of yourself. And remember, mind is part of nature. That means mind always changes. There is no unconditional love or peace or joy or a constant high self-esteem possible in mind, because mind is part of nature. Nature is made of polarities, good and bad, day and night, cold and hot, life and death, right? So even if we can, with our affirmations, programming our mind, reprogramming our mind, and we manage to create a good relationship with ourselves, with this mind-made image of ourself, that is not sustainable. It is good. It is better than nothing, right? But once you probably feel like, wow, great, I have great success, and I was doing my affirmations and I really feel enough and really something changed in my life and it's great. I know it works. I did it myself. I know it works. But then, bang, something happens and it all crumbles. And then you feel desperate. Then you say, shit, all this practice doesn't work and all this spirituality is bullshit and why do I feel bad again? And as long as everything, all the circumstances are nice around me, as my mind likes them, I'm fine. But as long as as soon as the circumstances around me change, and they're not in accordance with what my mind likes, my ego likes, it doesn't work, right? So the ultimate goal of spiritual journey is to dissolve that relationship, dissolve that mind-made image of yourself. And remember that you're not that. You are not the mind. Everything that comes from your mind, it's not you. So everything that changes is not you. Everything that depends on something is not you. Everything that compares is not you. Because your mind, your ego, and this created identity live in an illusion that everything in life is separate. That I'm different than you are. This is why I can't connect. This is why I don't like you. This is why I can't feel okay if you're in my presence, right? And this mind can only feel joy and let's call it high self-esteem when it can compare itself to someone who is doing worse than you, right? So, let's say, okay, you have a beautiful home, okay, and you're making good money, but somehow you're not feeling fulfilled, right? Because your mind is always wanting more, right? So let's say you're here. Now, if your mind compares itself with a multimillionaire, you have low self-esteem because your mind, this image walking next to you, will tell you, you will never reach that level. You're not good enough. You should work harder. Then you might become also a multimillionaire. All right. Low self-esteem, not feeling good enough. If your mind if you travel, let's say, to India, and your mind sees all the poor people and the misery and the really like the suffering and the devastation and people who have nothing, and it compares itself to this kind of humans, then it has high self-esteem, then it feels gratitude, right? Then it thinks, wow, I am okay, I am able to afford a house, I'm able to sustain a family, I'm able to like to heat my house in winter, to buy food, and that makes the ego, this created identity, feel strong, and you call it self-love or a high self-esteem, right? But remember, see how it always depends. It needs to compare itself, right? Okay, so how do you dissolve that relationship? How do you understand that you're not me and myself, right? How do you understand that you don't have to love yourself because there's only one? Who are you and who do you want to love? Who are you and who do you want to respect? Who are you and who do you hate? Who are you and who do you criticize? Like, I see only one person. Maybe after a couple of bottles of wine, I'll see two, but usually I'm one. So, you know what I mean? All this, what we do, right? The affirmation and the stuff, it's to create a good relationship with ourselves, right? But we are still on this level of schizophrenic relationships. The ultimate goal is to sustain, to live a life that where you're completely free, because you remember that you are not the mind. You are not the thought created identity. You are not that ego, that is accumulated beliefs and experiences from your life. You're not that. Your memory is your instrument. You can tap into it when you need it, right? For example, you're writing a test. You need to memorize certain stuff. Use it. Your imagination. You need to make a future project. Use your imagination. But don't let it use you, to imagine all the shit that might happen, and then you get anxious and you get a panic attack because you let your mind use you, or you believe you are the mind and you believe everything that voice tells you, right? It doesn't work like that. All right. So the only thing to understand, that you are one, and you're not only one entity, you are one with all. Because where we want to go, what you want to experience is that which lies beyond the physical world, beyond the world of form and thought and mind and matter, right? So imagine all this. This is life, right? This is creation. This is creation. This is creation. My breath, everything is creation. And everything in creation starts and ends and changes and depends on something, on certain circumstances to work. That's the law of nature, of life. And we want to understand that we are the silent, uninvolved witness, the consciousness, that the source of creation, that which animates life, that which creates life. You are not from this nature. Your true self, our true self, is not subject to change. It doesn't end. It doesn't finish. It is not subject to time. It is not subject to any circumstances. Our true self is just that. Energy, consciousness, divine, spirit, and we come down here into this dimension of life, into this nature, and manifest as a human being. You are a soul, and this human being, this body and this mind, those are your instruments you can play with as a human being, but don't become its slave. They'll kill you. They'll make you feel depressed. They'll make you feel anxious. They make you feel shit, not good enough and not lovable. And you will not enjoy your human experience. You came here to live, to play your role as a human being in life. But you forgot. I forgot. We all forgot. Right? That's when suffering starts. When we identify with this, when we enter into a strange relationship, right? You know, dogs don't have a relationship with themselves. Flowers don't. Trees don't. Little babies, newborns don't. That's why they laugh all the time. They don't compare themselves to anyone. They're just happy. They don't give a shit. Even if their full face is full of puke and they stink and they shit their pampers, they don't care. They still laugh because in little newborn babies, this mind-made identity is not created yet. So they're just happy. They're just pure souls in a human body. And they express their true, pure nature, which is joy, which is bliss. When they cry, it's because of instincts. They are hungry, they want to survive, or they want to sleep, right? Or they have a stomach pain because they can't poop, right? But the rest, they're just pure souls. They are truly themselves. And that's why you want to go back. So at the end, we are moving forward, to at the end become like a newborn baby again. It's true, right? Remember who we are. And how you can do that? Meditation. Why? Because in meditation you sit back. You sit back and you observe. And you observe this body. And you observe the mind, and you observe that voice. But you detach from it. You detach from it. You know that this is not you, because it makes no sense. You are the one observing. So you can't be object and subject at the same time. You are the one observing what's going on. And thoughts are just thoughts. And sensations are just sensations. If you step away from your ego, because a thought only becomes a negative thought when your ego, when your mind judges it, labels it. Right? A sensation becomes only painful and disturbing when your mind judges it, labels it. But when you tell your mind to do nothing, to just focus, to just simply be. A thought is just a thought, a wave of energy. A sensation is just a sensation. And you are okay. And you understand. When you sit and do nothing, and you practice doing nothing, no judging, no labeling, nothing, then you slowly feel that you're not that. You're not who you think you are. You're not your mind. So I tell you, you always want complicated things and you want expensive things and, but the solution is that. Sit, do nothing, close your eyes, observe, don't engage, don't be involved in the chatter. A thought comes, don't label it good or bad, let go. A sensation comes, a fly sits on your arm, don't label it, don't be your mind. You're not your mind that says, a fly. Leave it, it's just a sensation, it will go away. Everything is changed, you will notice, it will go away, you will understand life. You will understand that everything that comes goes if you leave it alone. Every thought goes away when you leave it alone. You don't judge it when you don't add mind. I gotta go for now. I leave you that, and I hope to hear back from you. Have a beautiful weekend.